Have you got the levels good?
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
Very good.
Yep.
All right.
Todd Kushner,
Yes.
welcome down, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was
Good to be here.
I often think, how do we start this? And it's fun, especially when it's just odd how I meet someone. Last week Jason was on here and I met him at a gas station like in the middle of the night. And here he is down here hanging out doing a podcast. Very interesting guy though. Recommend you going back and watching that, episode 13. But Todd, you and I met because I was the GM of an RV rental company.
That's right.
This would have been about 4 years ago.
Yep.
And you damaged the RV, like the awning or something like that, right?
I don't remember what you're talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right? And so whenever that happens, like people come in, it was like, okay, hey, we got to go get this estimate. So I go out there and I'm doing the thing. And then we got on to talking about music and we latched on to Springsteen. Right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and we
okay.
sat there. I remember this vividly. We sat there at the dinette, and instead of like going through any of the work that needed to be done, instead of like focusing on any of that, we were just nerding out about Springsteen the whole time.
That's so funny.
And then you told me that you had a home studio, and if I ever wanted, at the time I wasn't even playing music.
Yeah.
And you're like, come up if you ever want to record, and I'd love to do that. And so I months after that conversation started playing music again, and the first time I had a chance to record any of my new music that I'd been writing was in your home studio.
Awesome.
So there's the kickoff, Todd.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's so exciting to have you down here to tell some of your story.
Yes.
4 years, 3 years after recording with you, 4 years after meeting you.
We did a video too. Don't forget.
That's absolutely right.
It's
For
still,
let me
it's
say,
still on
that's
there.
right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. And thank you for doing that. You did a fantastic job with that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Todd Kushner. So right before I kind of kicked this off, you were talking about growing up in the Valley. I mean, this is where you're from.
That's right.
Yeah. So
My
talk about
hometown,
that.
my home, state, as it were. Even though I wasn't born here, but I really feel like California is where I grew up. So
yeah.
Suburban life, and we had pretty much a lot of freedom to roam the streets. Like they say nowadays, it's not the same with kids. They sit at home a lot, and we were definitely the generation that came home when the sun went down and dinner was ready on the table. The streets were ours. That's where we played, and riding our bikes around and just generally hanging out, and a suburban life as you could get. Very, very much like you might see in one of those, movie capsules that they make about the 80s. It was just like that,
Were you gleaming the cube?
It was we were learning
Do you know
from
that reference, Chris? As a Christian Slater movie, I think, and Tony Hawk back in like 80.
I was trying to place it. I know. We were close to that. Whatever it was that we were doing, we were trying to find out from our older siblings, I think.
Yeah. Sure.
How to and the funny part of that is they were still like 70s, era people around us, everywhere. You know what I mean? Like our influences were people whose current pop culture was John Belushi.
Yeah.
And we went like, wow, I love that. I'm going to do that too. John Belushi and the Blues Brothers, melting music and theater and, stage shows, bringing back timeless music to the masses and popularizing something that maybe had fallen away due to, the changing nature of the 80s, which was, a lot of drum machines and things like that, which half of my friends were into. That was part of the suburban life, You either went Rush or you went Depeche Mode,
Wow.
And then you like, older brother said, well, why don't you listen to some Pink Floyd, so to keep it how did we exist in the suburban life, of yore, and come to know music, this was how we did it. We learned from our big brothers and our friends what was cool and hip, and then we passed it on just like that. Like, you got to check this out. Rush. And maybe somebody said to me, I think somebody said to me once, Rush is for stoners. I went, yeah, but dude, Red Barchetta? Come on.
Well, hold on.
Anyone can get into Red Barchetta. It's about a fast car going down a road. Come on, dude. Has nothing to do with being high, I don't think.
I think the non-stoner version would be Panama by Van Halen, but that's not good, man. But you're right. No, but Rush does have that crossover appeal, right?
Yeah, it was intelligent music to me.
Yeah.
Like had intelligence, and I definitely connected with the, because I did it. I will say, my big brother, had a big influence on my music listening, but so it, being that he would play this prog rock around all the time, and so anything proggy, it was kind of like, oh yeah, more proggy. All right, great, let's go.
More time signatures.
Yeah, odd time signatures. Bring it on.
I was going to say this earlier with the Rush reference. Like I've often wondered how many people were attracted just to the fact that they were stretching how you could use things like time signatures in popular music and get away with it, right? Like it was a fusion. It was its own thing to take really technical music and had to have it playing in rotation on the radio. I mean, that in itself should be respected by any musician, whether they dig Rush or not. Is that the overall attraction of prog rock?
Well, I mean, I think most people, enjoy it. I think it morphed into like math and things of that nature, which
it's a lot of work.
Takes you,
So I think that aside from like time signatures are like a part of it, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the thing with prog in general is that it is pushing just things forward in general. Like it's not just a time signature thing. It can be instrumentation, and also there's a tendency towards like big epic conceptual things in addition to that, right? And time signatures and change ups are just a part of it. But I think that a lot of the interest comes from the fact that there's just a really high level of detail and a lot of stuff that you can latch onto, right? You hear about that with Rush. You hear about that with like King Crimson, Court of the Crimson King, which is, the seminal, what do you want to call it? Yeah, progressive or fusion kind of album, right? And those things, they reward repeated listening, right? Because of the amount of texture, the amount of interest,
density,
and the amount of surprise.
The density.
Yeah, that's a great, and actually that's a great way to put it. Prog is dense, right? And so time signatures are one part of that. Yeah.
And why Rush stands out though is because they're not. It's because Neil Peart had the lyrics that drove the songs. Movie.
Mm-hmm. When he was writing about some really high concept stuff, like he was trying to in some ways translate Ayn Rand into into song form.
But what he did was he made it accessible. He made those kind of like lines accessible. Whereas I believe the other, and Yes was probably another successful group at doing that too, crossing over into a pop realm with something technical.
Yep.
Where other bands, and even, Yes, King Crimson is huge, and they're also one of the prog rock greats. But like, I'm trying to think of what their radio hit was, and I know
it's not
very hard. Even to me though, I know a lot of their songs, but I'm oddball.
You
like
wouldn't
whatever.
throw
I'm just saying,
King Crimson onto the party.
Wouldn't be like no, it'd be like no, right, not at the party, right, exactly, but maybe at the hang with my other prog friends for sure.
Yeah.
But like you might put on Tom Sawyer
for sure.
That one goes. Why? Because anyone can relate to those words. It's somehow the world is love and light. I mean, come on.
And then
it's pretty. That's all right. So I know this is about to get into slap of the bass territory. Neil Peart. I mean, it may be that this is like. And definitely, I've thought a lot about how these bands of our generation were lucky enough to live sort of within the time frame of them playing live and being around. How weird it is, sort of like in a sense that we're all, and to hear these words similar to like the Prophet Bob Marley. you know, who died really amazingly young, but
Yeah.
gave so much to the
Yeah.
world in terms of words and wisdom. You know, and same, you know, it goes for any of these guys who leave a legacy behind like that, you know, Nirvana or whatever it is, you know, Henry Rollins, or whoever, you know, the body is there. And, you know, what a trip to, you know, come up with these things, have them live on as legacies and be something that people appreciate like this. Like we can sit around and discuss the virtues of Tom Sawyer
Right.
in, you know, and so,
It's been 40 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
And same with, you know, these other bands, like I'm a huge Deadhead, and they're still just at the, I think, birth of their long,
Their effect.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is,
I like that.
you know, this is just the birth of the effect 50 years later. This is also the 50th year of the Dead. I'm 50, the Dead are 50. It's a good like, I love that I'm 50 and the Dead are 50. It's the same to me. I'm like,
That's
okay,
brilliant.
this is great. Hugely into the Dead. The Dead are from the Bay Area, and you know, I didn't sort of anticipate how big of a impact that they would have in my later life when I was doing the touring, when I was watching, going and seeing them, when I was seeing them. I knew I would like them for the rest of my life, but I didn't realize like they would have such a lasting impression, and I would be getting to be around a lot of these, you know, people over the years that were part of the Grateful Dead scene. Looking back on it though, I realized I was in the Bay Area, so certainly that had a lot to do with it. That had a lot to do with it, but it wasn't the way, but it did have a lot to do with it, you know. But yeah, so
Do you remember your first Dead show?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I love
Well,
that. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had already been listening to them, and we had, so my brother was in college, and we had gone to see them, and he wrote a paper for his school, and I read it, and it was like, on the way to our seats, we smoked some marijuana, and I was like, oh my God, you wrote that in a college paper? Are you crazy? You know, and he's like, it's college, man. It's cool. The Grateful Dead are awesome. You should go. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And here, you know, here's this tape. So, and then Jerry went into a diabetic coma in like 1986.
Yeah.
So I had this tape. And I think we had tickets even, but the show was canceled. So we couldn't go. And then my parents were like, okay, well, you know, you can go like during the summer or whatever when it's not school. That was like the next available time after he got out of his coma. Got out of his coma. I think there were some New Year's shows, and I was still too like young. You know, at that, it was like probably 86. And so I went to see them when I was 17 with Dylan and the Dead
Wow.
Sick.
in Oakland. And you know, I remember on the way in, it was like a, I wouldn't say like a crush, but it was like a funnel, so that, you know, when you're going into the Coliseum, and it was like through a tunnel, and so everybody had to like,
Yeah. Compress, right?
yeah, and by the time we got in there, it was like people started to moo. And like, bah. Like we were like, I don't know, it was like so funny. I was like, I couldn't believe this was even happening. And when we got out, it was like we were birthed into the Oakland Coliseum, and the Dead started playing like the second we walked through the like doors. Like light came down. It was a daytime show, but light, I swear to God, light came down and was like a, oh, you know. And I think I probably shouted out like, I always knew it would be like this. You know, like I was just so happy, and everyone there was, it was the same feeling. That's the feeling, was everyone was there to experience the same feeling of, and would acknowledge that to you and to your neighbors, like, Yeah, we're here.
Like, isn't this cool, dude? Do you feel this
you
right
you
now?
you made
Yeah.
it. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
made it.
You made it.
Now you know, kind of like it was very hard to describe, but that sort of repeated itself over and over again at the Dead. Every time, like it didn't matter like what venue was in, and even the Dead or Jerry Garcia would play by himself. And so these were truly community gatherings of the highest order with love and intention all around. It was crazy.
What do you think was the driver of that feeling? That feeling of this is something that is, for lack of a better word, happening right now, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you're here. We're glad you're here. What are the factors that came together to make that happen? The band, the people, the expectation, the energy.
Yeah. Certainly we have to, comment on the psychedelics. There was a lot of psychedelics happening, and psychedelic exploration kind of got off the ground with the Grateful Dead in the '60s, with the acid tests that were happening in Palo Alto and La Honda, right near here, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And before LSD was made illegal, they would have these parties. Ken Kesey, the author Ken Kesey, would have these parties, and called the acid tests. And the band that he had there was called themselves the Warlocks at the time, and later on they became the Grateful Dead. And so Ken Kesey became well known not only for his famous book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but he also was featured in Tom Wolfe's book The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test.
Yeah.
So he kind of, along with Timothy Leary on the East Coast, kicked off the counterculture generation, 60s counterculture movement, I should say, and on both coasts, and brought it together. So, and the Dead just sort of grew out of that.
Yeah, we have a good friend. He may come down later on this evening. Peter, his father was involved with Timothy Leary, traveled with them, and was very, very tied in with that as well. Do you think that take away the psychedelics? I mean, far be it for me to say that's a good idea or a bad idea, but take away the psychedelics, and in live music, do you feel like, that energy is generated anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
maybe psychedelics might open up your mind or your
Sure.
sight to some other way of perceiving it, but ultimately, live music does that, though, right?
Let me
turns the
bring
energy
it back
into something.
around to exactly what the question. I think the nature of the question. So maybe I'll answer it even more fully now that you reminded me, which is to say that what they created at the acid tests was sort of a free space for people to experiment with, without pressure and without judgment. So they might decide not to play music. They might play music. They might decide to just sit around and read or listen to the echoes. It was a freedom of this sort. Within that, they brought people together in a community who were interactive. If the people in the hall were dancing wildly, the band played more wild. See? And the Dead kept trying to reach that interplay between the fans and the band, and getting a communication going, so to speak.
An energy exchange.
An energy exchange.
Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly what it was. They would know how to, feel the energy and play the energy, and that's what kept them going. It was like a freight train, and they would definitely roll down the track, and people would jump on it and ride with them, and then if they slowed down, everyone, it was like a whole, it was one moving organism, the band and the fans. And that started with the acid tests, I truly believe, by just this interplay. And that, so when you came to the shows, you were ready, you and everybody. You go to some other concerts, like I went to a concert at San Francisco Civic. It was Macklemore. And I thought, I'm going to dance, Well, we didn't have floor seats, but everybody in the seats was sitting. And I had to go like in the aisle somewhere and run around and dance. And, I thought, well, at a Dead show or at a Fish show or at any other jam band show or maybe even like a reggae show, like most people stand up and dance.
Right,
It was very bizarre to me to like sit through a show and not be participating in that aspect of music performance. But
Yeah.
so that's just me. I mean, I wasn't trying to be judgmental or anything. I'm just saying like I was shocked.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah. The next
Yeah.
time I went to a show, everyone was standing and I was like, right, because we're dancing to the music.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You
We'll have
know,
a good time.
You describing this energy exchange between the audience and the dead reacting to it.
Mm-hmm.
That does make me think about the way that, let's like Macklemore, or like say like you just go to like a regular rock and roll show or something. The band has a set list, right? And we are going to play these songs exactly the way that we always play them, and you're going to watch and enjoy it because you paid for your ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is no, it's a one-way thing. It's basically the band is taking their thing and smacking you over the head with it, and you might like it or you might not, but there isn't this taking into account the audience's reaction or what the audience wants to do, right?
Yeah.
And that actually makes me think, like, I think maybe what the Dead and other jam bands of that caliber are able to tap into is this more kind of ancient thing that exists within music, where music is a communal, tribal kind of experience where, I could easily envision it to where tens of thousands of years ago, when people were having a party or playing, a similar situation where the people that are designated as musicians, if there's even a designation, are reacting to what the overall group wants and bringing up or bringing down the energy in accordance with that. Members can join, members can leave, whatever. And then this new showcase type of music that we've seen in the last few hundred years, probably with symphonies and court performances and all that stuff forward, is actually like kind of a newer form that again is more look at what I can do based,
Yeah.
versus an actual energy exchange. And I think people react differently to that. There's something inside you that reacts differently to that.
Wonder how much that has to do with lead instruments, right? Like when it's mostly rhythmic instruments, then the impressiveness might be in someone being able to figure out micro rhythms, like really be able to nail down some fast notes or something to that effect, but or syncopation. But I wonder if once the lead instruments, like reeds, whistles, like whatever it was, like that's when you start to impress.
I mean, I think that possibly. I would say that again. This is all conjecture,
Yeah, I know,
right?
right?
I'm sure an
I'm sure an
anthromusicologist would be able to
grant.
would be able to. But so I think that, and there, impressive virtuosity is something that I think is kind of inherent to a lot of forms of music in general. And I think that could also, there might have been the guy that was like super rad at banging rocks together or whatever,
Sure.
And like Jerry is a great example.
No one has ever heard that guy bang rocks like anybody.
He's like,
Right.
yeah, he's like,
It's like,
what?
have you heard this guy bang rocks,
And he's got like
dude?
different
Like,
types
you
of
gotta be
rocks.
there the next time.
He's like got a small one.
Yeah, he's got his
a
arsenal.
medium one.
Different materials.
Little
He found
pouches of he
some-
just
Dude,
lays
I
them
don't-
out in
Can you
such a way.
imagine?
I
Can you
love
imagine
it.
Yeah.
listening to like the old, like tens of thousands of years ago, the musicians from that
Yeah.
time period when
It was
they
like
were
the
they spent
Yngwie
their
Malmsteen of cavemen.
10,000 hours of smacking
woman.
rocks together.
Right,
for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
a woman.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. Bringing the energy.
And that's right.
But I think that Jerry is a good example of somebody that brought a certain level of virtuosity. I mean, he's not considered like a crazy shredder or anything
Nope.
like that. But again, the virtuosity almost comes from the ability to react and play with these
Yeah.
other musicians, and that's
Now,
only something you can get by playing something
I
for a long
don't,
time.
and I'm sure he's never going to watch this but I'll just say that he might one day, and so I'm sorry if I'm getting the story wrong, Dad. But one time he was like, Jerry's not even that good of a guitarist. I just don't get it. The allure, And I'm like, I know. It's not about that, though, It ain't about all the notes being right, Dad. He went to a lot of Dead shows with me, too. Like, we saw him together. He's still alive, my dad. And he'll appreciate, I'm just saying, like, just to say that that's the point, is that I think he came to understand the brilliance of Jerry's playing, and maybe even did then. He just said it, like, because, like, father son, couldn't. I don't get anything my son listens to either or does. But I get that it's good.
Well, and people want different things from
Yeah.
music, too,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Absolutely.
But he loves jazz, and I love jazz, and we would have a lot of conversation about jazz, like jazz guitarists, and I would say, listen to this guy, Trey Anastasio from Fish. He's going, Donna Lee. And he's like, well, check out this guitarist. He's really fast, if you like fast-playing guitarists. Barney Kessel. So I did. I checked out Barney Kessel, and it was like one of my favorite jazz CDs I ever got. Like definitely to this day, I have the CD, I have the vinyl. It'll be on my Desert Island disc for sure. It's crazy. One of them, one random one from the 70s. Because he has this guy's got like hundreds of records. He was not a like one hit guy. Barney Kessel. If you ever look him up, but you probably never heard of him right now, sitting here, Barney Kessel. See.
No, but I love.
Like,
I
he's
do
that
love
kind
the
of
bridge though. That
Yeah.
he was like, "Well, Dad, you listen to this," and he's like, "Well, you listen to this." And both of the players in each of your minds are at a certain elevation, right, for a certain reason, and
Yeah.
that's how you compare the two. Like, you still meet over it, even if you don't understand what the other one is listening to.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And now I have a huge vinyl jazz collection, and every time he comes over, it's like the library. I'm like, you want to take one with you and bring it back next time,
Oh, that's cool.
And,
Renting
so
it out,
good.
like we're sign Todd out on it.
But yeah, no, it's fun.
I want to pull the conversation
Yeah,
slightly
sure.
in
Go ahead.
direction, and so let's jump back. So Ken Kesey's name has entered the conversation.
That's right.
And certainly, so for my 21st birthday, my brother, who's older, so like when you were talking about
Yeah.
that, like I'm like, brother, I know where you're at.
Yeah.
My brother did the coolest thing in the world, and my brother does listen to this, so what's up, Wes? And he gave me, I apologize for not remembering the exact number, Wes, I'm sure you will, but I want to say 7 or 12 books and he also went through the trouble of making on cassette,
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say. But
Why? My love affair with cassettes.
It's
We
true
gotta get
enough.
to that.
Yeah, I know. We got to talk about
I
the
know.
augmented reality thing too.
There's a
Okay.
sound to it, man.
Here's another loop for you. But so he gave me soundtracks that
Yeah.
he mixed tapes that went along with each book. So it was incredible. Like, it was incredible to read these books that I felt like were being passed down to me in one way, and
Yeah.
they were. It's like these things influenced me in some way, or at least I, in experiencing them, can see how you might relate to these things, and pass that down, and having music to go along with it was awesome. But among those was Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. And at the time I was a crane operator, so I'm like sitting in a crane on construction site, right? Like all this
Yeah.
shit going around, all this stuff going around me. And I'm reading all these books, and one was Tom Wolfe's Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, and left a huge impression on me. And then I later actually gave my copy to Chris at one point. So you knew the man Ken Kesey.
That's right.
Not only knew him, you at some point lived there
Yeah.
in Oregon with him. Is that correct?
That's right. I did.
How did this begin? How did it genesis?
Well, the beginning of it is when I was coming back from living up in Seattle, where I'd lived just straight out of college. I moved from Arcata to Seattle. I worked with a band, lived in a band house, and I was trying to do band management. That's actually
Which band was this? Jambay?
Jambay.
Yeah.
And the drummer for Jambay, Matt Butler, the band had moved to San Francisco from Seattle. We were working and living there, and I decided, somewhat foolishly, to stay behind even though my parents lived down here. I was like, I'm going to try Seattle. Yeah, let's do this. Seattle. And I was like, all right, I've had enough of Seattle. Nobody I know is here anymore. I went back home. And I was home for like 3 weeks, maybe. And Matt is from Eugene. The drummer for Djembe is from Eugene originally, where Kesey lived.
Yeah.
And Matt's mom was in the symphony orchestra there. Symphony orchestra had a fundraiser. Kesey met Matt's mom and invited Djembe to play at their 4th of July party.
Oh, nice.
Because they were going to, they were as an sort of a, not an interview, as a, what do you call it? You know.
Audition?
Audition, thank you. As an audition for opening for the Dead in Autzen Stadium.
Right.
That was the prize. A lot of bands were going to be at this party, and Djembe was one of them. So Djembe got to meet Ken Kesey, but I was not there. But they impressed Ken. Meanwhile, again, the Jerry going into the coma, show's canceled. No Ken Kesey opening plus band for the Dead. They were picked. Djembe was picked.
So second time of this, like, nearly interacting with the Dead.
And Jerry just blowing it for us. Anyway, but I love the guy.
We won't say it like that.
Jerry, you blew
Things
it.
happening, right?
No, we would. So, right. Fast forward, and I'm back home living with my parents. I'm like, not down in the dumps, but I was like, I think I got sick for 2 weeks, and then my mom was like, well, you better go get a job. So I went to the temp agency, and I, you know, as fast as I can, you know, place me. And they called me up, and they're like, we got a job for you. It starts on Monday. It's just basically filing. What? My typing wasn't good enough for you?
Have you just been managing a band that almost opened for the Grateful Dead has met Ken Kesey, and now you're at the temp agency filing, getting picked?
I hadn't even taken the job, but I accepted the job, and it was like start Monday.
Right.
Then the phone rang, and it was like, Todd, Ken Kesey's on the phone. Like my dad. I'm like, what? I go, Todd, we need you up here. Matt Butler says you're the man.
And this is Ken himself making the phone call.
I think so. My memory serves me right. He called and he said, we need you up here. Matt Butler says you're the man. We want you to come up here and we want you to do the work on this play we got going on. This is like I'm telling you pretty close to verbatim. It was quick. We got this play we're working on. It's called Twister. We need someone to manage the office and do all the advancing for all the shows. And I said, I'm your man. And I told my parents, I said, I'm moving up to Eugene. And they were like, right on.
Like, you had not even showed up for the one day of the filing clerk job?
Nope.
That's awesome.
That's rock and roll.
No.
That's so cool.
Like by the hair on my chinny chin chin, I escaped that. But I will say that after a very successful run in Eugene, where I managed the awesome community center for the performing arts there called the Wow Hall, which is like, you know, absolutely was the premier venue back then, and still can be, still will be, but it's going through some changes. But you know, that's where I first volunteered. Anyway, it's a long and windy road, you know. But funny part is, after all that, I came back to the Bay Area, and the first job I got was doing, you know, calls for lead generation. Do you know what that is?
Sure.
So, you know, just seeing if you wanted to buy whatever it is that you're selling. For company, this was business to business lead generation in tall office building in downtown San Francisco.
B2B.
And I was riding the bus, wearing a semi-suit, you know, business casual. And that lasted too about like 3 months because I already had a live sound gig. I was doing live sound 3 nights a week and doing the calling. And then I got a pager.
Oh,
And
man, you
I
would not.
literally, listen to this. I got one page on that pager ever. That's how many.
One.
I pull the car over to the side of the road, the nearest pay phone. All right. I've got calling number back. What is it? Todd, we need you to do sound. We're going on tour.
Whoa, whoa. And this is the only page you've ever gotten?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
After that, I think I got a cell phone like later on, but the pager lasted like 6 months and no one ever paged me on it. But one time I needed to, I got a page and I got a fucking tour out of it.
That's awesome.
Thank God, you know, it was like, and I was going, and I went on tour with this 8-piece all-women world beat band because the guitarist for Djembe was hired and she was a woman. She was a woman, got hired with our favorite, also awesome band from around here called Pele Juju. Who, if anybody ever remembers them, they were the most wonderful band ever. That's all I have to say. And it's just too bad that like bands come and go, but that's what happened. But I did go on tour with them quite a bit, and we went to like places like Winnipeg, Canada, and I flew on planes and Birmingham, Alabama.
That's awesome.
My
Take
God.
us back though. I
know you want to talk about
understand more
Ken.
about the man,
I
right?
know.
Like you, we're veering
All right.
here. Like
We're veering.
bring me
We're
back,
veering.
brother.
I know.
So we got the phone call.
We got the
Dad,
phone call.
Everything
Go
goes
up to
back in the
Eugene.
backpack. We're in the car.
I go up to Eugene, and I'm like, I'm moving to Eugene. Holy shit. Well, I'd already lived in Arcata for college, and I lived in Seattle. And now I'm just like another place, I put everything in my car. I fit everything in my car already once to drive back from Seattle. So I put everything in the car just like I did, and I went to
I know
Eugene.
you've only been back a few weeks.
I know, it's only a few weeks. And for half of it, I was sick like a dog. So I was like in bed most of it. And then I went up to the Eugene, and I get there, and I'm like this. I look like this, clean shaven. And first day, they were having like a party out back, not very big, just like some friends over for dinner, and they were dipping, like you guys do.
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to.
They were taking the items and marbling them.
Oh, got you. You mean the painting?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, to get it
On
awesome.
the back porch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I took pictures of all this. Just a couple. I had a camera with me. Like I took my dad's camera up. He had a nice Minolta Maxim 7000, but film was expensive for me. I mean, I wasn't getting paid. He was paying me, and I got room and board. And it was basically like $7 an hour for like work. And I had to like submit my hours on the times that I was working. And then I got to live at his house and eat the food. He's like, eat whatever you want out of the fridge, just like make coffee in the morning. If you're making it, make for everybody. And, his wife was super nice but super, like quiet. And, I mean, this is a lady who saw everything in her life, and
Right.
more, and so she didn't talk much.
I mean, she had been with him back in the La Honda days, and
Everything.
yeah.
And, he had a daughter with Mountain Girl, who is
Right.
Jerry Garcia's wife at the time, and everything was like fine. This was like one big happy family. I mean, and it still is, I mean, and it was a wonderful experience to be around them, and everything was super cool. They were just super nice people. Took me in, but definitely a feeling of like they've seen this before. A guy my age, I was 24 at the time, coming around, and I was another one of a long line of like me.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
And
yeah.
but to me, it was time stood still.
Yeah.
While I was there, that was all that mattered, was like time stood still, and it's still like an encapsulated bubble of time for my life that I could definitely say like was a moment of like pure like whoa weirdness, or like how did this happen, going from I read the electrochelated acid test when I was 16 and experimenting with psychedelics as a kid in the suburbs and going to see the Dead shows, like we said. So it was like going from that. And if you read that book and it describes what went on, it was like never. It didn't end after that book ended. It was still going on when I was there. Not the. I'm not talking about like the psychedelics part. I'm just talking about like the
Merry Pranksters and
Yeah.
what he was moving towards, what he was
right,
working.
which was just like art and an artist collective, sort of, more or less, is what I would just say. It was a thriving artist collective, and they were working on a play called Twister, which was way ahead of its time, and it kind of got panned at the time. But what it was about climate change and how the world was sort of spinning out of control due to climate change, and he was sort of like playing the Wizard of Oz.
Right. Yeah, I remember that element you told me.
Yeah, and he was like the Wizard of Oz, and one of the characters was like Frankenstein, and another one was, and Dorothy was in there. The Tin Man. There was all these, but like it was, and then Elvis was in there. Was one of the characters, and a lot of it was over the heads of people, and I think even over his own head. Like I think he was like thinking way far ahead, because now it kind of seems like, oh my God, dude was way ahead of his time. Look at us. We're having all these fires, and
You could see it coming.
it wasn't like that then. Meaning, when we did that in 1994, people just talked about the problems of global warming, but now we experience them.
Yeah.
It's kind of but so I think it's a lot that's the way it is with a lot of people who have seen things and can see further, like we were saying earlier, like the Elon Musks. I say that those people are in a different stratosphere, not like even metaphorically. They don't breathe air.
I got a thing
They
with
don't even
Elon.
breathe air.
Elon is no doubt very intelligent. I mean, no doubt. I'll never deny that. I think his real brilliance is in marketing. I think his real brilliance is going like take theoretical astrophysics, right? That in a way is like one of the best rackets you could imagine ever being in. You can get all kinds of book deals. You can be on all kinds of shows. You can have podcasts. You can have T-shirts. You can do all this stuff, and most of your audience really cannot grasp what it is that you're talking about. But they are glad, maybe they have respect for the idea that there's someone who's actively trying to understand the universe and what this is all about. And I dig that. I don't deny that. But also at the same time, not many people can kind of correct it, or not many people can. It's in a realm where someone like a charismatic genius like Elon Musk can gamify and raise just tons of money around the brands that he creates. Now, no doubt Tesla is an amazing car. And no doubt he is making, I mean, these rockets are taking off and landing. There's no doubt that what he is driving, he can implement in the real world.
At least that's what we've seen on TV.
And well, right.
What are you saying? The SpaceX landing was faked, huh? And a lot
And here's the other thing is like, what is like when you talk about putting someone on Mars, like, yes, that's interesting, and we should. I do believe that because there's a Pandora's box effect to anything. Like once the idea is presented, like how do we go? Can we get there? And what does that mean in leading to the next thing? Even if we're thinking thousands of years in advance, and he is driving, because of his ability to raise money around a brand, he is driving innovation that may lead to something spectacular and might lead to the survival of our species. Like, I applaud that, but I really think, like, at the end of the day, does he breathe air? Yeah, he does. And at the end of the day, does he go back home and like laugh about some of this shit? I think he does. I think he's got to be a moment where he's just like,
I'm sure he's going like,
holy shit.
I always think it's like this.
How much this
Watch
is...
me fuck with the United States financial markets.
Absolutely.
Honey.
Absolutely.
Honey, I'm gonna fuck with the financial markets right now. Watch
true.
this. I'm gonna tweet this out right now.
Yeah.
But
I think the fact that he pumped Doge is like proof that of his genius, but it's also proof that he understands that his genius is in branding and in marketing, right? Like he picks a meme coin to go there. This doesn't have an inherent value to the structure of what is driving cryptocurrency of the blockchain, right? It's not a node provider. It's not a server system. It is none. It's not solving any of the algorithm. It's not logging anything on the blockchain. It's just a meme, right? And like, let me prove what I can do with marketing, with branding, and but I'm glad. I'm glad because of what it's done for some people. Like I know, like I told you a story earlier where there's a guy I know who has never really had a checking account that had $1,000 in it, and he put $300 into Doge, and it turned into 17 grand. He paid off his debt, and he's taking a vacation for the first time in his entire life. I love what crypto can do.
Basically, what I meant by that statement, though, is that. What I meant by him not breathing air is that there are things that we're not privy to.
For sure.
Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or a nut job, I don't think.
Eyebrows get raised, Chris.
Well, the thing about the term conspiracy theory is that it was invented during the Nixon administration to discredit people that were questioning things that the government was doing, but that's a different story.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't claim to, and I don't even, but I do enjoy good satire, and I do enjoy thought games. So one of them was that perhaps there's a, understood. There's a knowledge out there that's at a higher level than we're privy to. Let's just say a set of people that know things that we're not allowed to know, but they're just like, like we were saying, like there's Bill Gates and there's like the Twitter guy, Dorsey, and there's like people, and then there's government and shit, Okay, now
we've had a couple of great conversations where you put your own version.
Now let me just finish.
All right,
well, because the world would run a lot smoother if people. Well, the world would not run as smoothly, perhaps, if some of these things were known.
Right, maybe. and like, of course. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to say is that for our own protection, like we just better not say anything. Like they're going, hey, giant asteroid or whatever, let's say, massive chemical release coming, bombs, something, whatever it is, meaning we got to go far away. Is it, hey, Elon, can you just try to get us to Mars? One. Number two, we need a way to conduct commerce. Can we do it if everyone has to stay at home, or even worse, be underground?
Yeah.
For fear of exposure to the atmosphere. What if? Yeah. Well, what then? Well, let's say we had these, and we couldn't really like go to a bank, so you couldn't like give money to people,
But that's already thought through as a contingency plan.
That's where the NFTs come in.
Yeah, well, the U.S. government has paid people to think through these kind of scenarios for a long time. Like the what if people are underground and how could we still conduct commerce thing. I mean, that's in order for that's effectively an insurance policy, right? Because the U.S. government as an organization is going to do everything that it can to continue the existence of the U.S. government. And that includes, contingency plans for pretty much everything that you can think of.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, but most people that I've jokingly said this to always go like, that's totally horseshit. And you will never experience that in your lifetime, at least.
Why do people have trouble with this kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I would just say that it's not, and I like I said, I mean, I'm not pretending to place all of my faith in it. I'm not a prepper. I don't have a doomsday whatever bug out bag even. Yeah. I'm like, my bug out bag is a bag of whatever, something I can smoke. Cut. No, but you know what I mean. It's California. It's all good. But
No, I do know
we
what
don't,
you mean.
I don't, because
So, but
on the
get back
one
to the
hand,
question.
I just question, like, why do people like that invest their whole life into getting to a place like Mars? Maybe because somebody said something to them, like, "Hey, can you help us get to Mars?"
They can raise a ton of money for
And
themselves.
why is all of a
though.
sudden okay?
Like that's
and then
still a free market thing. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm not against the
That's
conspiracy
true.
thing. I'm not at all.
You're right.
I dig into, it. But at the same time, it's like if I can use this to build a brand, to build a company
So,
around which I can raise a ton of money
let
for myself,
me-
whether we're successful or not.
okay,
Let
and-
me take that one step further.
All right.
You're the first one on Mars. You colonize Mars. You're not under the jurisdiction of any international law. No countries. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
You have the fucking Mars colony.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, yeah, sure, maybe raising money, maybe all this
you're
stuff.
still
But if
very
you're trying
dependent.
to take your thing to if you're trying to take your potential megalomania or whatever you want to call it to the logical end conclusion, being a sovereign leader of a planet,
right.
that's the next step in big dick energy. So
Well,
that's what
ego.
I would
Alright.
posit there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Essentially, well, I mean, I'll just bring it back to like what's going on today. Okay, what's going on today is, like you said, there's some marketing, there's money to be made. I've found that there's a lot of carnival tent like atmosphere going on with the whole crypto space.
Carnival tent, like kind of like, hey, come play the game, like kind of thing. Or,
Yeah. Carnival Barker.
Uh-huh.
Carnival Barker-esque, hey, step right up. I'm going to show you something over here.
What was that
You know,
crypto.com?
come on
we were
in.
talking about yesterday?
that was disgusting.
Get the crypto credit
Yeah.
card. You know that guy like went on. He's like,
Yeah.
I got the URL, guys. We're gonna make money
okay.
somehow.
All right. Well, what I'm saying is a lot of people want to say crypto is some sort of Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme. And like, I can see how someone might feel that way. In fact, I could see, based on your assessment of Elon, how just about anything could be considered. For example, like you said, I just invented a rocket that goes up to the moon and back. It's self-driving. So would you like to invest in me? Like before it works.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
see?
Yeah.
Before
No,
it works.
There's
There's another
a theory
concept
that-
of investment in general. Like it's
Yeah,
before it works.
right.
It's like, hey, look at this concept. I'm good at
Well,
selling this
There are different
thing.
levels, though, right?
So
Now- now-
there
no.
are different levels.
Write
down coin.
Nice.
Here's one I collabed on with
Okay.
LSD.
Okay, that's pretty sick.
Gummy bears.
Yeah.
That's my mushroom
Yeah.
and soundtrack.
I'm getting some like mellow vibes
And his
from
art. He took my mushroom that I did in 3D and he messed it up with his glass.
That's really interesting. And we're back, folks.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that is a 3D animated NFT set to music,
That's right.
right? And you're marketing that, or this is something that
That's
would
a
be
collaboration I did
yeah,
with
it's
somebody
a,
who's
it's a
marketing.
collab, but it'd be marketed through like your Twitter account or some other means, right?
Correct.
And then people would show interest in that, and then somebody is going to think it's dope, buy it, and then they are like the certificate holder or whatever of the original. How does that work, and where is the value proposition that way? Yeah.
Thanks.
If you feel like explaining
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were talking about how things gain value, I think, right before this and right before the break. And one of, certainly you could have two of the same things. Like, let's just say I have Billy Joel's The Stranger album that I bought in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a legit, like, test pressing signed by Billy Joel,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like, it's the same songs. You even know in your mind right now, one is more valuable and contains some sort of inherent additional value than the other does.
Right. So, and we'll just say, for intents and purposes, that they're the exact same album.
Exactly
right?
the
No
same. The music,
difference
note
in
for note,
reference.
the
Yeah.
mix is the same, and
Okay.
everything is the same. The grooves, depth.
Liner notes. Yeah.
They just straight from that master
Uh-huh.
created all the other records,
Yep.
including and not even including up to the one that I hold in my hand today that I bought from 2020 pressing. That's a completely different album. That bears no relation to that other one, which is the, clearly the original master recording that people would have loved over the ages. And so it's basically provenance.
Yes.
That's
right.
it.
Sure.
It's giving you provenance to say, I own this, and it is the actual one. So even if somebody were to come in and view it 100 times, they don't own it. They can't sell it. It's fine if they look at it, and all of that. So to
Interesting.
own it is, and then if you wanted to go to sell it, when you go to sell it, the person who created it also gets a residual payment. So the biggest thing that, basically, the biggest concept I think that people miss from an NFT conversation is that residuals go back to the artist every time the item is sold on the secondary market.
That is really cool. That's an aspect of it that I wasn't fully aware of. So one thing that is interesting too about the NFT idea though is like, is there a mechanism or the potential in the future to have a mechanism for like digital rights management for NFTs? Meaning that, in a lot of ways when you're talking about like this Billy Joel record, right? The value proposition, this provenance, is the ability to maintain scarcity of the original copy of the record, right? It would be illegal for somebody to go and break into your house and make a copy of the record and and then view it and enjoy it on their own, right? So given the fact that
More like sell it. Break into your house, make a copy, and sell it.
I wouldn't even
for
say
money.
possibly. I wouldn't even say bootlegging in that way, though. I would say like just like listening to the record without your permission, making a copy of it and listening to it without your permission.
Sure.
Right? Are there talks in the future about finding some way to do sort of a rights management thing for NFTs that way, where like you wouldn't be able. I don't know how you would even do this, but the same way that they do copyright strikes on YouTube, for instance, to prevent people from disseminating copies of these NFTs.
It's true. It's true. In fact, I've just recently read a lot about people who have personally bought counterfeit art pieces thinking they were from the original artist.
Wow. Wait, so counterfeit NFTs,
Yes,
right? And I'm sure there's
NFTs.
like a signature or blockchain thing linked to it,
But
right?
even still, I mean,
blockchain, right?
even still, if you see it for sale on your phone and you're just swiping through,
they're
and
not going to check the certificate necessarily.
I'm not going into the certificate, and I don't even know how I would tell.
Yeah,
them
right.
what to
You're like,
look
yo, I
for.
got
right.
a Banksy
To be honest,
NFT, but the Banksy,
no.
the A is spelled with like a 4 instead.
Yeah,
and like,
you know.
they're just like scamming people.
And so, no, I mean, I don't even think of it like that. I don't even get caught up in that stuff because, well, first of all, no one has tried to rip off mine or sell. But I frankly, I think I might be flattered at this point if someone
Right,
did that.
yeah, exactly.
I think,
I know.
like, can I take one little crack at that,
know.
Chris? Like,
Yeah.
I think one of the issues or one of the aspects is that it's digital. And so every aspect of it is encoded in some way. It has a digital signature. It has to move through the fiber optics in a certain way. The packet's separated and then recompiled, right? And I think that the counterfeit will happen deep inside of that encoding, and it will take computers. It will just take it. We're going to rely, as we already do more and more, on AI, and that is AI that will be a paid-for service, no doubt, to scan and make sure that across the entirety of the internet, that other people are not holding this digital image in a way that they are not thus compensating you and the person who has the service for making sure that this
Wow,
doesn't
I'm just
happen.
thinking
Alright.
about the extent of that, though,
Yeah.
because that's literally talking about
Okay.
you'd be parsing, the internet, for this kind
like
of stuff.
like let me just
I think it
say
already
this.
happens
This
right
is
now.
not the big conversation as far as I'm concerned in the world of NFTs right now.
Sure,
Let's-
yeah.
that's-
Even
that is
though-
further, that is
Sorry, we
further
could
down
get
the
away
line.
It's
from
okay.
But
I'm
what
not.
if, dude? But
I
what-
don't want
but then-
to. That is to say,
Chris and I will talk about this in the kitchen later.
that is not to say it isn't relatively important. It's relatively important to the conversation.
I
to the
think that,
topic.
well, especially if,
mean-
if you're talking about in terms of value.
Value,
Right?
right?
Yeah,
because
value.
enforcement of digital rights.
That's right.
That's a
And
big value
value.
proposition.
Right.
But
And
yes,
so-
please.
But and why I say like it's not the big part of the topic of the conversation is because you have the people like you have the people like Beeple. Like have you know who I'm talking about?
I do not.
Okay. So Beeple is like the guy who sold the NFT for like 69 million or
64.5 million or something like that. 69 million.
What was the NFT? Is he an
It was a
artist?
cat toast Pop-Tart.
Oh,
cat.
the Nyan Cat. Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
that was his, but he's had some that are very, like whatever. I mean,
Right.
let's just say highly
Yeah.
sold for a high price.
And I could
Right.
see how owning the NFT for an extremely popular meme, that is inherently valuable because because the meme itself is demonstrated to have value.
Now,
Yes.
sometimes like just owning it doesn't mean that you have the right to exploit it.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what that goes back
so-
to that digital rights management
Yeah,
thing that we're
and
talking
so-
about. But owning an NFT that is that famous, though,
Yeah.
there is potentially resale value there.
then there's
you
then
know?
there's a resale value. So
Yeah.
it's just as similar as holding any valuable asset.
I think a mosquito bit me on
I
the
know
cheek.
we're like having this conversation
see.
and
So
absolute
tell me about
cloud of
this mosquito
mosquitoes right
NFT
Mosquito.
here. Okay, but please. So the
Well-
major conversation surrounding NFTs,
Yeah.
then, right? What's
We're
the-
making mosquito coin,
yeah,
right now, man.
blood coin.
suck.
Mint it.
Coin, yeah.
So anyways, yeah, we're talking about NFTs and value and everything, and basically, I mean, I will just say this. I had made some comments about pyramid schemes and things of that nature, and I mean, I really don't think NFTs are like a pyramid scheme, but NFTs are driven by cryptocurrency. Like Ethereum is, clearly, as about as unstable as they come with regards to as any currency is, and if you think of it like all one big carnival game, like we said, like it's a made up. I'm an astrophysicist. Bitcoins are great. I mean,
Right.
I don't really get the underlying concept, but let's just say there's a need for, like okay, right now I send money to my bank. I have a Wells Fargo account and I have a Bank of America account. Look, we're talking about bank accounts.
Right.
Hey, I'm not talking about my bank account number. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. My
Okay,
Coinbase account took a hit this week,
but-
dude.
Yeah, mine did too.
Let's just
Oh
say-
my gosh.
let's
I
just
thought
say-
we were like, yeah.
No,
this
Let's
is
just
it.
say I
and
want to
hold,
send
baby,
money
buy and
from
hold.
Bank of America to Wells Fargo. Okay, there's several ways, but it's going to cost me money. It's going to take me some time because you don't bat an eye when they say it's going. The result of this transaction will be 3 days from now, and
Right.
it's going to
Right.
cost you
Yeah.
$15.
We're used to
Right.
crap service
Okay.
that way. ACH transfers take
But
far
whatever.
too long.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like we don't
We
don't
can
think
verify
twice.
the funds immediately.
But in crypto land, see, people are used to instantaneous, 24/7,
Yeah, of
That's
course.
power
yeah.
blockchain.
Yeah, and the trading goes on 24/7 too,
Yep.
which is awesome.
and that's where the power lies to me. This whole notion of the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday is super inefficient, and when things can, like you said, come around and people understand that the power is in efficiency. One of these, systems, that's all they are, that people have created, whether it's Doge, whether it's Ethereum, Anchor, Near, one of them, and honestly, all of them have whatever it is, issues with computing power, but so does just about anything. There isn't any reason why. It's only people's perception, and once that's removed, they'll say like, "Oh yeah, we've been using the internet all along." we should just use this too.
Right.
That's on 24/7. It's like saying, I want to go to Amazon. Sorry, we're closed now because we only are open from 9 to 5
Right.
or 9 to 11 or 6 to 11, like Whole Foods.
Don't you think that a number of people are already kind of, I mean, obviously there's a gradual turn up that's happening here, but we're already in crypto as far as, I think most people are concerned as mainstream. When you have Ellen DeGeneres and the Today Show talking about Ethereum and Mark Cuban talking about Dogecoin, like this isn't fringe stuff like it was in 2015
and
that's
a big change. But look at China
people
and
trusting it, right? I think that's the
let's
difference.
Talk about
like
governments.
Like being aware of it's one thing.
Bring it back to the governments.
Like trust is another. Yeah, let's do that, right? Because when we're talking about what it's all about,
Alan, and we're going straight to the Chinese government and what their part is in making the Bitcoin crash.
So okay, what is that?
Well, they outlawed it. I
Yeah.
believe it. They outlawed it or something like that. And so like people went like, oh no, like the people who are, let's just say the people who are not
officially done that.
The people who are not really in it, like some that got in it, the people that are in it that were like, Elon followers who just said like, oh hooray, like in the middle of COVID, who got out because they went like, oh no, he was on SNL and now China, bad. Gone.
Right.
And so then there's going to be like a new influx of people who don't remember that.
Yeah.
That's all that's going to happen. I mean, that's
so
my
it's
prediction.
Gradual. It's basically you're talking about a graph that's going to, well, I guess from your perspective, it's going to go like that.
And then back up. And then
will there be the hockey stick eventually?
But each time
probably.
I think it goes up a little bit more.
That's I mean, if you look at any sort of crypto chart over the last 5 years, I mean, it effectively, it's an exponential curve.
And
There's
so
no doubt about that.
I know you got really bit right there. I can see it.
Can't stop rubbing it down.
Like
this
noting
sucks, dude.
He's gonna call it. Name it.
Sucks.
Yeah. Sorry, dude.
Like one good thing is once we start doing the shows, which is in 2 weeks, the music shows, then we start right after the sun goes down, and so there's kind of a bit.
This is a bit of a
This is like the prime.
Sorry,
time
I don't
we're
feel
now.
like I'm getting too bit up, so it's nice.
Yeah.
I've only heard one in my ear once.
Well, that's good.
Can I talk about value for a second? I want to jump back onto that. This means a lot to me, and
I'm gonna give a shout out to my Rad Ruse Day friends. No, just kidding.
Well, like we were offered. Alicia and I were offered some money for the first painting that we did, right?
By who?
By a friend of ours.
Oh, okay.
Like they offered to buy it, right? Or they put a value on it, I should say. They put a number on it.
Wow.
And it was cool.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, in the moment I was like, oh no, wait, it's gonna be way more than that, right? In the moment being the sales, like putting on the company hat, guy, which stepping away from that's where the value aspect of it like really hit me. And I thought, the value, if you took like, okay, let's go there. Like take that you put a price on carbon, right? And then you took all the possible carbon in the universe, and then you put a value against all other elements in the universe, and therefore we could say like this painting, if you took the value in that way, like of what we extrapolated from the universe or augmented in the universe to put in this way, like it's valued as X. Like that's one way to value it.
Yeah.
And yet there's someone else who's looking at it and has this emotional reaction to it, and then they value it thinking about their own bank account.
Yeah.
Thinking about how much money they make every month, like all the different aspects that would go into why when you're looking at making a purchase, like can I afford this? And then you have something that is abstract in nature and even in value. Like it's like I don't have any benchmark. I don't have anything to like anchor to say that this should be valued as this much, right?
I know a lot about this topic though, but keep going.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
This was the realization I had, and then I want to come, and then I want you to open up.
All right.
Or to me, I shouldn't say realization, but with the thought process that I went through. And then I thought, okay, but to me, what is the value? Like if I sold this, and Alicia and I, we split the money, and I had X number of dollars as in exchange for letting this artwork go, it's like, okay, then I could take that and I could turn that into X, or I could, pay down and blah,
buy
blah,
more
whatever,
paint.
right?
Buy
And there's
more
value
paint.
in that way. And I thought, the value here is in what it means, right? Like the value in that the first piece of art that we did, someone put a very handsome number on it, like right off the bat. And I was like, that's the value is in the validation of it
Yeah.
at all, that someone would be willing to part with some
Right.
of what they have in exchange for something that you've created. And that, to me, there is no better exchange
Yeah.
of value personally.
Yeah.
But
and I'll just start by saying value. Yeah, like to echo what you said, the exchange is crazy. I value the exchange more. You're right. That's exactly where it started for me. So, like, I personally say to people, my stuff has no value.
right.
It starts with none.
You could figure your time. You could figure like
Right.
what. Like,
No.
Like how do you?
I know. Yeah.
Well, it's
no.
all subjective. It's exactly
That's
what
what I
you're
mean.
talking about.
Yeah.
Like for you, maybe the value is in the validation, but
Right.
another person would make
Yeah.
something and not care about the validation, and and
I-
maybe value it entirely based on the amount of carbon that it takes up.
Yeah.
Or the number of US dollars that they would get.
That's
in exchange.
effectively how arbitrage even works, right? Is the fact that asymmetric information and asymmetric interpretation of something
Yeah.
leads for us to have opportunities to place items that
sure.
are undervalued by somebody in the hands of somebody that might value it more.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about value proposition, and how it relates to an art collector in the NFT space. I just got done telling you that my art has no value, or my
Creations.
my creations, holding them right now. I don't even recommend it, but I want people to buy my art, but I don't recommend it from a value, buying it because you may be interested in
Like
holding.
an investment proposition, is what you're saying. Is like you
Right.
don't view it in those terms.
Right. And by that I say it holds no value, like, unless it's valuable to you. Like we just got done saying. Like, it could be immensely valuable. Like, I saw one, it had some Polska. It had the words Polska on it, which is like Polish, just means Polish. And I'm part Polish, and I went, I'm getting that. Bing! And I wrote to the artist and I said, I got this. It spoke to me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm part Polish, Like, it wasn't like the greatest thing I'd ever seen, but
That's
it was
the
totally
beauty of
dope.
art,
And
man.
but it was very cool. Like, it had, it was spray can art with a stencil.
So
I'm just saying, like, it was valuable to me because I'm made a connection to, and
It's relatable.
and I think if it starts with zero value, it starts with zero value inherently, and it only gains value as. So, one of the things lately is a lot of people in my circles have been releasing art for very cheap or free on this one website, and the idea being that all of the hype surrounding these big top item sales, like CryptoPunks, that all started out as free. You could go on to
Right.
these sites and click and buy them for essentially free, like giveaway. They were a giveaway,
Downloadable.
and then, but there would only be one, so you had to be first or whatever it was. Like,
Yeah.
there's only one, or there's one. So if you were on that site and you were there at the right time and you clicked and you got one, now like 5 years later or even 3 years later, and it's worth like $6 million,
Right.
because it's like Pokemon. You were there at the beginning, the dude with the original Pokemon card that's still in the wrapper. Of course, it's the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, so my idea is I came out with a couple things that are along this line, and I've tried to crack the code because there's a code. So it's one of one, has to be the value proposition is scarcity, like you said. It's got to be one of one. I didn't used to think this at first. I'm going to tell you this. I came around to this just lately, like in the last week or so, because I have 2 projects going that are one of ones now. They've graduated to one of ones, I say. They started out as multi-mints. So I would release like 5 of these cups of coffee. I had these cups of coffee that I was selling.
So this is a
Digital cup of coffee.
Right. Explain.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so I have digital cup of coffee. It's a picture of espresso art that I made. And I have 99 of them ready to go. And I say I'm going to release the first batch. There was 10. and I released these 10 cups, and I sold 8 copies of 6 different cups. 4 didn't sell at all. 6 cups sold, 6 designs. Let's just
Sure.
say,
Right. Yeah.
sold to 4
digital
6
images of
coffee. Right. And it's good coffee art. I'm proud of it. I made 99 of them.
Is this under the Meta Mushroom name or the
No,
what?
this one. So I call this one called Coffee Shots. Coffee Shats.
Right. Yeah, you sent this to me. Yeah.
COFFYSHATZ. Shats.
Slow down and do that one more time.
Yeah, Coffee Shats.
Chats. Right.
Yeah, you kind of gotta just give me a coffee shat. And anyway, so that's what it is, and a coffee shot. I mean, it's an espresso. It's a cappuccino. I mean, it isn't even coffee, but whatever.
I remember being
It's
at
just
your
funny.
house and you made me a very nice cup of coffee, and you
That's
did some kind of an image on the top.
Probably because that would be it. That was the time I
Yeah.
was doing, and I probably did a guitar or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
And I'll do
believe
like
it was.
caricatures, and you got to see. I mean, it's like
Probably have a
people
picture
don't.
somewhere of it.
This is not a part of the lexicon. There's a lexicon of NFT world, like how you make NFTs. It's got to be an 8-bit image, and it's got to be 3D. It's got to spin around, and it's got to say, like I farted and shat myself all at the same time.
We
and
say
then
gotta be.
you screw out.
But are there?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
No.
This is the
All right.
code. This is the pathway
Yeah.
that you have seen that you believe is your pathway to succeeding in the NFT market, but it doesn't have to be, right?
No, I'm just saying,
I'm
like,
talking like there are
you
other
don't go
artists
to
that
the-
are definitely wanting to know, and
Yeah.
actually when we turn the cameras off and
Yeah.
you and I can dig
Here's-
more
here's-
into it, like
here's what I
this is
say.
part of what I want to pull apart.
No.
Is there other artists who are involved with the Roadhouse who want to
Yeah.
branch into NFTs, and the question a lot is like, do they have to be generating everything 100% on a computer, or are there things that you can do in the real world, snap an image of? Like you
Yeah.
were showing me something earlier where
Yeah,
they
I
were
mean,
modeling and
My wife just sold a painting last night.
Right.
It's a
congratulations, Star.
Thanth you.
Awesome. Star
Canvas.
is an amazing artist.
Acrylic on canvas,
She
and
is
now this is a
fantastic.
digital copy only,
Right.
so it doesn't come with the original. But we do sell that as well. The original can be sold with an NFT, just like we were saying. And our first sale that we made was a physical copy, and the person has not claimed it.
Yeah.
So
But they have the digital. They have the digital image, and like one of the things that you mentioned earlier, they also you can choose to sell the rights. Is that correct? Like you can hold the rights of the image as the creator, or did you sell?
you can hold the rights.
Like
Yeah.
if they
You hold the
decided
rights.
to
I
make
mean,
money
The
off of
copyright,
it,
right? Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like
any other.
I do,
Yeah, which is great.
I do some.
It is because it's replicable.
Well, it's the same way with the painting, right? You don't
It
sell
is.
the copyright to a painting
You-
if you sell the painting.
You sell the
but
painting,
you sell
but
licensing to use it.
if
Yeah.
now if somebody wants to put it in their gallery and show it, and charge people entrance,
Or if
to
they
see
want
it,
to put it on a T-shirt, right? That's licensing as well.
I think they need to pay the artists for that, not to come in and see it because they're trying to sell it. Not the gallery one, but the T-shirt sales, yes. You can't take like I said, that'd be like bootlegging. I think you can sell it once, but multiple copies, I don't think they're not selling it like
That's
that.
the difference
but
between
it's true.
like owning
Yeah,
the rights with like out owning rights to use something.
yeah.
And which I think every creator should hold on to their rights at some level, and then you have the ability to sell licensing or the ability for other people to
Well,
make
here's
money
the
from
way
what
I
you
see
create.
it working. When Toyota makes a car model and it lives its useful life, somebody sells it on the open market. Not only does Toyota not get any of the sale, but the original designer of the car, whoever designed that model, let's just say Toyota rewards that person handsomely every year for their contribution to the company.
Sure.
Like they get the person who drew the picture of the Corolla or
Yeah,
whatever.
sure.
I mean, come on.
Well,
That person gets a bonus, right? But I mean, imagine if like on a record, You know how, it says like the, lyrics and music by. What if it was like Toyota Corolla, designed by,
Well, there was a time, right? I mean, that's kind of how DeLorean
that's what I'm saying.
how he built a name
No,
and got out on his own.
or like
and,
Ford has the Shelby. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
right,
So now,
right.
Yeah, but
now
that's still
for
few
real.
and far between.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but like,
for the most part, they are
But what I'm
artists,
trying-
architects. Like a lot of
Now,
architects work in firms and stuff,
I
right?
joke, or I'm just taking it to the farthest reaches of whatever it is, but it's
Designer.
true. It's like, what I'm saying is, now imagine a world where when you sold the Toyota Corolla, because of the blockchain contract said,
Yeah.
Hiroshi Muramoto gets 5%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
really
Because
interesting.
that was
You can see
written
that-
into the contract, and
Yeah.
when he negotiated, like in 1985, when he said we're going to go live with the Corolla, but they can't do that,
Well,
I
that
but tomorrow they
guarantee
could.
you- I guarantee you that within 1.5 to 2 years, there's going to be graphic tee companies, graphic T-shirt companies that are selling NFT-backed graphic tees for designs, where every purchase will go directly to the artist. That's already a model, but now you're going to have ones that are buying.
So
and
here's what
selling
I saw
NFT-based ones.
yesterday. I saw a ticket for a chance to promote your. I'm sorry. The ticket was, you buy the ticket from this person called The Party. There's somebody who bought
The party.
The Party. Yeah.
Neat.
The Party.
That's very Blade Runner or something like
The
that.
Party bought my art
Really?
within 2 minutes of me releasing it and said, bought. So, okay, because this brings back the coffee, right? So, okay, so here's how it works. I was trying to explain the value. I came out
30
with,
minutes ago.
dude, I came out with 10. This was a hard project. I had the 99 cups, so I was like, easy. I'm going to post 10. I'm going to make them super cheap, like the price of a cup of coffee, on this new punk rock website called Hicket Nunk. You can't even pronounce it. It's so rad. So, fuck. It takes forever to post these fuckers. I'm doing 10 of them. I'm doing 100, okay, but I just got to do 10. It takes forever. And, like, I'm up until, like, 1 in the morning. But anyways, I sold 6, I was saying. Were you here for that part of the conversation?
Yes.
The 6 and the 8, right? Yeah. All right, so we got the running tally. And the idea was, I've been in some of these Twitter spaces that are kind of like podcasts with some of these high-level NFT dudes. One of them is like a whale. He can make you or break you. He's got 22,000
Right.
followers, and he's called NFT Freak, and he's like just a, outspoken. I would do my act to show you, but you just got to go watch the dude. He's truly one of a kind. I love him, but he's like a necessity in the biz.
Yeah.
So
He's a
you have to
tastemaker.
like play the game and sort of like politics.
Yeah.
And be nice. I'm not bad mouthing you, dude, if you hear about this, but anyway, so I'm
By
in
the way,
these
guys,
groups.
if you're into the politics thing, it's chill
Yeah.
to let people just do their thing.
It's chill to let people
if
do
you
things.
don't know all the jargon. It's chill.
It's chill.
If you don't know every step that is supposed to be made. Not
That's right.
everyone has time to dive in as heavily as other people do. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. I'm
There's
glad there are people in this world that can understand each little incremental things of that.
It's true.
Those are scientists, those are engineers, and it's important. But at the same time, it's chill if
Yeah.
other people don't.
And so
Continue.
this guy understands NFTs, and I listen. He's talking, I'm listening, and he's going, you have to, prove your value. You have to, you have to be able to understand your own value proposition even. And I'm going, my shit's not valuable. How do I create a value proposition? Well, they're saying through this scarcity, right? I haven't been quite as scarce as I thought I needed to be, right? By that, I'm saying I can do 5 editions
Yeah.
of a coffee cup, because what if it's popular?
Right.
And I want to sell 5,
Right.
right?
That's meeting and demand as well.
Yeah. But then but then there's less motivation for one guy, right? to
Right.
wanna get
So
one. Yeah.
I had these 10. Each one I made, when you mint, you can make like however many copies you want, and then you can put some on sale, right? So I made 10 of each, thinking and then I would just put 5 for sale, see how many I could sell. But we know the end result was basically 1 sold per, with one of them getting a few more because it was a cool design. Okay. All right. So, but the proof was there for me enough
Right.
that, and it wasn't like Flash. It wasn't like, no, it was Flash, but it wasn't like, yeah, I heard those guys on the talk. I'm going to go with 1 of 1. Now, all the cups will just be 1. So I was there, sitting there, getting ready to do the next 10. And I thought to myself, 10 sucked. I just got done burning all fucking shit that didn't sell. Fuck it. I'm going to do 5. And 1 of 1. That way, I only have to do one thing if I just...
There's a value back to you.
Even
right? There's a value back to you at that moment where it was like, what is my expected exchange of value for what I would create
Here.
and what it would do to my spirit, what it
Yeah.
would do to my motivation,
Thank you.
all these different things.
That's
that
it. It
you
went
had
through
to-
my mind, and
Yeah.
I went, aha, that's what he meant. Now, just so
Yeah.
I put up 4.
Not just
I
what this
put up
one singular
5 cups
exchange
on
would do, yeah.
Thursday at noon, and literally 2 minutes later, 1 sold. 2 minutes later.
Nice.
After going like all week, putting out a sign saying, I learned from crypto Karens. Okay,
Crypto
there's
Karens.
crypto Karens. Listen to this. Okay, this was so good. This is so part of the story, dude. You guys, there's a movie, and I'll come back and tell you the whole thing. But like, it's between here and there. I met up with crypto Karens inside of Twitter Spaces. Okay. And that is to just say that I jumped into like a clubhouse room or a talk, kind of like similarly, and they're all like, put me on stage right away, which just, I would just say, like, doesn't always happen, but it seems to be happening a lot lately.
You're an interesting fella to know.
What I say is, I get in there and she's like, all right, well, we got Meta Mushrooms is in here. And I'm all like, fuck yeah, they want me to talk. Boom. I put on my mic. I'm like, what's up, people? I go on full mushroom attack, and they love me, but I'm super humble and nice. I'm like, yeah, I'm just doing this. And my wife's the real artist, she's the real artist.
Star is an incredible artist. I'll
Come
say that one more
on. I
time.
mean, we got into this because I wanted Star to do art more. And I mean, not
We're
wanted
both
her to
fortunate
do
that
art.
way. Our wives are
She-
both really good
Yeah,
artists.
like really blows my mind with her art and stuff. So like, of course, this is a great like conversation you're having with like complete and total strangers, and they can respect that. Who doesn't get that? It's lovely. So I thought in my mind, aha, I'll make up a story here with crypto Karens. I'm going to get her in on it. It's just marketing. So I wrote to her behind the channel in Twitter chat. I said, hey, Karen, I got this idea. We were already chatting from the Twitter Spaces, but it had only been like a minute or an hour. It was later that night. And I said,
A minute or an hour.
whatever.
Time's irrelevant.
Time is irrelevant.
Like
Here's
this
a minute.
podcast
An
right
hour.
now.
And like, I said, hey, Karen, I'm going to say like this, okay? Because she's got a motto. I want to speak to the manager. Is crypto Karen's motto.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Is
The
that-
Karen meme, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have a logo or something
Yeah.
like that with like the Karen hairdo and everything?
Pretty much.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's all in
Of course-
8-bit.
Of course,
It's
there's
8-bit
oh,
images.
That's
It's
sick. Of course,
classic.
there's crypto
It's
Karen.
it's 1,000 Karens with different like
it's
configuration.
like a one of those images where it's made up of other images.
No.
Oh.
Each you got to
Just a
see this
mosaic.
8-bit. It's like
Okay,
it's like
I'll
an
look up
8-bit.
crypto
8 bits like
character,
Nintendo.
Yeah,
I'll look
Nintendo.
up crypto
Like
Karen.
a
Crypto
original
Karen.
NES
Fuck 'em
system.
up.
Yeah, yeah. So
Graphic.
So anyway, so she's like all right on. I go, hey, guess what? You came into the coffee shop and you asked to speak to the manager. And you told me to burn all the stale cups. So I go out with this tweet. There's a whole formatting for tweets. You got to use a lot of emojis. You say one emoji one.
So I can't do
You find it?
Crypto Karen.
You
Oh,
found
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, yeah.
that's
So you
great.
go. So I go one. Crypto Karens came in, said she needs to speak to the manager. All the shots have to be burned. So I go all week. I'm like, okay, getting ready to burn the shots. Okay, the shots are burned, and the new shots will be poured tomorrow. So
Crypto.com's
anybody
at
watching
the
this,
top.
is
Oh my
watching
God.
along the story.
Yeah.
It's like a story. And I say, the new shots will be burned tomorrow.
All right.
And then when I release the shots, each time I'm like tagging her, and her fans are seeing this. Like she was all behind the scenes, like, it's cool, do it.
Yeah.
Within 2 minutes of me releasing the next one of ones, I sold one because people could see that I was serious about my value being on point.
Mhm.
Okay,
Value.
I didn't sell all 5 cups, but that wasn't the point. The point was that I sell within minutes of release.
That shows engagement.
Yeah.
Like that shows the level of engagement that some of the parties, or one or a combination of the parties involved, were able to hold someone's attention enough that at the moment of release, it had an exchange of value.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I did that through clever marketing, I say. But it was fun for everybody involved. Like, I'd play that game too.
Mm-hmm.
For the price, it was worth it. And that guy thought so too. And I thanked him behind the scenes and said, thank you for buying my stuff. I think your party. So we'll bring it back to the full nature of who the party is.
Yeah.
Because then we can find out who's the party.
Waiting to hear. Yeah.
The party is essentially a holder of a digital venue space that is selling NFTs to people who would like to utilize said digital 3D VR virtual reality performance and venue for parties, publicity, or whatever. So if I exchange 125 American dollars with this guy, I will get the use of his space rental for an event. I have to pay with the cryptocurrency known as Tezos, but I did the exchange rate, and currently it's at about $125 is the value.
The way things are going right now, you might want to
And
check.
maybe
It
like
might be a little
$100
less right now.
Maybe like $75. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's whatever the
I know.
equivalent
Right.
And- but
time.
but to be
Yeah.
honest, like the way I see it is like this. I sold the paintings for 1 Ether coin. At the time the painting sold for 1 Ether coin, it was $1,500. I said to my wife, your painting is $1,500 valuable. And 3 months later, I said, honey, your painting is $4,000 valuable.
Right.
To some people, it did do that. For the person holding it, had they wanted to sell it that day,
Yeah.
and they were able to get even just a little bit less than they paid, like let's say they could even sell it for 0.5. They paid but they sell it for 0.5 and be gaining.
Yeah. That's an interesting interaction, right? Because the value is also tied to the value of the crypto or whatever at which it was sold, which is true for dollars too. But with crypto these days, there's such a higher beta that
Right.
that you've got
Yeah.
that you've got that interaction to worry about too. Very interesting. Yeah.
So it's very cool, and I don't know really what all it means. Like there's people better suited for that, like we were saying. Like I just and oftentimes I get outside my lane, but try to stay within my lane. My lane hasn't always been. I tell people that, like, I'm not in crypto because I wanted to get into crypto and get a crypto education or any of that. I'm in crypto simply because that's where the action is on art right now.
Right.
And I never thought I could sell art as a person who makes art just for the fun of doing it.
Right. That's really interesting.
And I don't care about making money off of my art, but I'll tell you what's amazing. Somebody wrote me back my words. Like, like you would do to like Imagine you meet
Like things
Springsteen.
you had said, and the way they communicated back was using your own words back to you. Wow, that'd be an honor.
You know.
To be sure, that'd be an honor.
But I'm like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I do that to you. Nobody ever does that to me. Because certainly I've never put my stuff out there for anybody to see it, to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Or even big enough or wide enough, nobody's cared.
And now you feel like you have access to the market because of crypto? No, but because there is a new marketplace that you feel like is more accepting, and that the value, how people view value in art has changed, influenced by the psychology of crypto itself, I would argue. Right? Like the idea that someone would exchange 69 million US dollars for that digital image.
By the way, 69 wasn't an accident.
I know, right? Of course not. I mean, why?
Because this is part of it. I mean,
Put
I
a
want to
number
just
on
stop
it.
for a second and just say the whole idea. It's like, this is like this. I imagine these first, this is, we go like CryptoPunks, it rolls off the tongue, right?
Marketing.
But imagine it's not what it seems on the surface. These are the guys that built crypto. Those are the punks that were up late programming, doing the shit work that people
Brilliance.
don't get it
Yeah.
even. They just see like a face on a screen. Those are the OGs.
They see Elon Musk. Exactly.
Whatever.
A brilliant
I just
marketer
mean to say, like,
who understands how to use all
they're
everyone
the
else's
people-
hard work
I'm just
to
saying,
put
like-
a ton of value into himself.
Like punk rock was anarchy, let's just say. People with a vision to say, you don't know me, but I'm going to wear my hair in a punk rock style, and fuck you if you judge me, but I might be the nicest person you've ever met. But just because I have the spiky hair, you're going to, that was what I feel like. And the punks are semi like a gang of people who said, fuck you, financial institutions. We're going to come up with something that blows fucking everyone away, and that's what's punk about it. And that's the celebration.
It's
Start
about taking
wrapping
control.
this up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been
Gotta
going a
get-
long time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
We've
yeah,
gone a long
we
time.
can
But it's
for
taking
sure.
Spare
you
the
went back to
listeners.
not understanding the beginning.
Spare the
Like
listeners.
it is decentralizing the control.
Yeah.
Like that is what crypto and blockchain technology represents, is the idea of decentralizing the control that money and currency has over top
Yeah.
of us. All right, this has
Yeah.
been a record long
We
podcast.
are sliding into the parking space with the engine on fire and a hubcap rolling away.
Let me just say this.
But we made it.
In closing, Meta Mushrooms on
Yeah.
IO.
Yeah, we'll put all everywhere we can find you.
XYZ,
Yeah.
PDQ,
Dude, thank you for that was a really, really insightful conversation. I like just to speak with somebody that's on the forefront of what's going on with the NFT space was really, really interesting. And
Right on.
Your background was sick too, man. So
Thank you.
that was
Thank you.
freaking awesome.
Look forward to having you down more.
Yeah.
For sure.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been super fun, and there was definitely like a bunch of people. Like, I'm just thinking in my mind, like, seriously, it was so funny. I said to these guys, like, I'm gonna give you shout outs, and shit. But like Occupy Canvas, this guy I met recently, Occupy Canvas, and I mean, I know he's probably never gonna see this or any of that. Like, this is just like
You never know, brother.
I'm like not. I mean, like,
Hey,
I met some real
you talk
people.
about value, like at the beginning, and we don't need to get into this. We need to wrap it up. But like
No.
in the beginning, it is how you view what you create is the beginning of how you
Yeah.
set a value.
That's a good
right.
point. Well,
let me
and
just-
if you are coming at things being like, oh, well, probably everybody's going to ever
Yeah.
interact with, it's like, well, bullshit. Okay, now you've just set a value, and that value is less than,
That's right.
Yeah.
If you set that value at above zero, it's like I hope to God they do. I hope absolutely.
Yeah, they're
whatever
gonna
you just
see it.
named, we're going to put your hashtag up and your
Yeah, it's
account
true.
up, and we're going to see if you don't watch this thing because there's some cool things going on.
That's
down
right.
here,
And
but-
I've been told that a lot lately, that, I shouldn't lead with a depreciating tone.
you should not.
Perhaps.
Not at all.
But,
Any other shout outs you want to give?
Salvatore Satoshi, has some amazing crazy good games that he's putting out that are kind of like how do you want to call them? They're challenges and with ciphers that you got to decrypt.
Wow.
And stuff and I just mean to say, and they're great people in real life who I've met.
Sure.
Through background chats and things like that, who are just like you and me, forming little artist collectives and doing stuff. And hopefully one day we can all meet up in the real world. But what we're doing right now is we're pumping each other up in cyberspace, and
let's
hoping
do it there,
to
and let's do it in the real world too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
I want to give a real quick shout out as well. My wife was just published in a book that came out this week, as a matter of fact.
Excellent.
100 years of, I'm going to get the title wrong at the moment, but 100 years of artists in the mountains of North Carolina. And she and her grandmother both have pages. She has 2 pages dedicated to her. So
amazing.
I'm super proud of Christina on that one.
Congratulations, Christina.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, man. This is exciting. We'll do it again.
Congratulations to all the wives out there starting out.
There you go. Ashley Starr is amazing. All right. Thank you, Todd. Peace.
Later.